welcome back to the class children. I am your science teacher and my name is Mrs. Jyoti. So we are in lesson number 4 now, that is animals living and surviving. So before moving on to the lesson, you please be ready with your textbook and your pencil. So open your textbooks, lesson number 4, page number 278. So till the previous session we have completed lesson 1, 2, 3 and we have also done the worksheet. Yes, now we are in lesson number 4. In this lesson we are going to learn about animals. So in the lesson name itself it is there, animals living and surviving. So where do they live? So some of the animals they live in water and few they live on land. And even on the land, few they live mostly in the air and a few they live on trees and few they live in some desert areas. Like most of the animals they live on the land and very few animals they live in water. So we are going to learn about the living of animals, and not only that we are going to learn about the surviving of the animals. So how do human beings survive? By eating food and by breathing the air. And even animals also they survive by taking the food. So what are the different food habits of the animals? How do they breathe? Do all the animals eat same type of food or do they do not eat the food at all? So let us see all these details from this lesson. So in this lesson we are completely going to learn about the animals. How do they live and how do they survive? That means what is the food which they take. So page number 278. Here you have a warm up. So if you see this warm up, pick the odd one in each group and also state the reason. So here if you see in the first one there are 3 animals like lizard, fish, frog. So if you see all these animals, which is the odd one? Which is the odd one? So this is the odd one, that is the lizard. So lizard it is a reptile and it lives on a land, that is in the houses or in the old buildings and all. Whereas fish and frog they live in water. So this lizard is the odd one. So tick the lizard. Take the lizard, and here down you have number 1. Why the lizard is odd one? You have to write here because it lives on land. So near the first one you write lives on land. It lives on land. Then here if you see there is a crab and then there is a bear. And then there is a bat. Bat is not a cricket bat, it is a bird. Okay. So out of these 3 animals, this is the odd one. That is the bird. Bat is the odd one. So why it is odd one? Because all the animals are terrestrial animals. Like they live on the land. But they walk on the land. But this bat, it is the aerial animal which flies. It spends most of the time in flying in the air. So you have to tick the bat, and reason you have to write it here down near 2. Okay. So why we have ticked that animal? Because it is aerial animal. Because it is aerial animal. So aerial animal is nothing but the animals which spend most of the time in the air. Like birds. Birds are the one which spend most of the time in the air by flying. They can move only from one place to other place by flying. So all that animals they come under aerial animals. Okay. So about these aerial animals we will learn we'll discuss briefly in the next session. Okay. So this is about the warm up. So in the first one you have to take the lizard and down you have to write down it lives on land. Then in the second one you have to take the bat and you should write as aerial animal. Okay, A-E-R-I-A-L, aerial animal. Then moving on to the lesson. So page number 279. So just like plants, animals also need special features that help them to survive in their immediate environment. For example, camels have hump on their backs as a place to store the fat. So, it is this fat that helps them to survive for longer duration in the desert without food and water. Giraffes are well adapted to live in a wet and dry climate of savanna. Savanna is nothing but it is a name of a place. Like how there is a Hyderabad and Nacharam. Even savanna is name of a place. So they drink water when it is available but can go for weeks without it. So their long neck helps them to reach up the leaves of tall plants where other animals cannot reach. So this process of developing some features which suits immediately to the environment is called as adaptation. So those animals that cannot adapt to the changes in the environment slowly die out. For example, such as animals like dinosaurs and mammoth, scientists believe that they die probably because they could not adapt to the changing of the climate on the earth. So here is an introduction of the lesson. So in this paragraph they told about the camels. So camels and giraffes. The best example is camel. So camels, they live in desert. So if you see in the desert for long, so many kilometers, there is no food available for those animals. Then how do they survive without eating the animal? So whenever there is food available for them, they eat a lot of food and they store it in the form of fat in the hump. So if you see the shape of a camel, it has a hump like this. Yes. So in this hump, they are going to store the food in the form of fat. So whenever there is no availability of food, they are going to utilize that fat as the food. So that fat is going to give the energy to the animal. Then what about giraffes? So giraffes are also very long. They drink lot of water when there is availability and they can live without water for many days also. And they have a very long neck so that they can reach the tall plants also, right? So this is about the camels and giraffes. So here the camel has adapted itself like making a hump, and for giraffes there is a long neck to eat the leaves which are at the top of the plant. So they have modified their bodies according to the environment. So this type of modifications we call it as adaptation. This type of modifications we call it as adaptation. So this adaptation I have told you in lesson number 2 also regarding the plants. Like cactus plant is there. So there is lot of heat over there. So the water whatever the plant is absorbing, it gets evaporated. So what the plants do, the leaves are modified into spines so that there will be less transpiration. And how does the plant make food? With the help of the green stem, it makes the food. So here these animals also, they adapt themselves to the environment. That means they change themselves, they change their body parts which is suits the climatic condition. So then what about the animals which cannot adapt themselves to the climatic condition? Slowly what happens is they become weak and they die. So what do scientists believe? Scientists believe that in like thousands of years ago there were dinosaurs. So how dinosaurs have exist? People think that they are unable to get adjusted with this environment on the earth. That's why they have exist. Now here there are some adaptations of environment. Let us see. So the environment in which an animal lives is referred to as its habitat. On the basis of their habitat, animals can be divided into 5 major groups. So in whichever place the animal gets suitable to live is called as its habitat. For example, the habitat of human beings is, what is the habitat of human beings? It is the land. We cannot live inside the water. We can live only on the land. So land is our habitat. And what is the habitat of a fish? Fishes, they can live only in water. So water is its habitat. And if you take a frog, so frog can live both inside the water and on the land. So the habitat of the frog is water as well as land. So now hope you have understood what is habitat. Habitat is nothing but where it is able to adjust itself, where the animal is able to adjust itself to live. The best example I told you, human beings' habitat is the land. Yes. Now based on the habitat, there are 5 major groups. So the first one is animals that live on land. Animals that live on land. So animals which live on land are called as terrestrial animals. They are called as terrestrial animals. So most of the animals, they live on land and they are called as terrestrial animals. And the second one is animals that live in water. Animals that live in water. So animals that live in water are called as aquatic animals. They are called as aquatic animals. Then third one, animals that can live both in water and on land. Animals which live both in land and then water. They are called as amphibians. We call them as amphibians or amphibious animals also. So which live on land are called as terrestrial animals, which live in water are called aquatic, and which live both on land and in water are called as amphibians. Then remaining two, animals that live on trees like monkeys. Okay, they spend most of the time on the trees. So what are those animals called as? They are called as arboreal animals. They are called as arboreal animals. The example is owl, then like monkeys and all. Most of the time they spend on the trees. Then animals that fly in the air. Most of the birds they fly and they are called as aerial animals. They are called as aerial animals. So based on the habitat which plants are. So this is about the habitat, and based on the habitat we have 5 major groups, that is animals which live on land, which live in water, animals which live both on land and in water, then animals which live on trees and animals which fly in the air. So there are again different names for this. Animals which live on land are called as terrestrial animals. Animals which live in water are called as aquatic animals. Animals which live on land and water are called as amphibians. Animals which live on trees are called as arboreal animals, and animals which fly in the air are called as aerial animals. So this is about the lesson. In the next class we are going to learn about detailedly about the terrestrial animals, aquatic animals, amphibious, arboreal and aerial animals. So that's all for today, and your homework is, so here I have listed about the different types of animals. So you have to write down these 5 different habitats, and you should give 2 examples of each. For example, first you should write land animals. They are also called as terrestrial animals. Same how I wrote here, in the same way. But here what you have to do, in the next line you should add one more line, example, like terrestrial animals, elephant, ant, or you can write some other examples also. Then water, you can give example as fish and like jellyfish. or snails. So they all live in water. Then land and water amphibious like snakes, frogs. So like this, for each you have to give two examples and write. Okay. Already 3 I have only written. Remaining 2 you have to write. So note down the homework. So your homework is write 5 habitats of animals with 2 examples each one time in the homework book. So today what we have learned about the adaptation. Adaptation is nothing but animals are going to change themselves according to the climatic condition. Like the example camel and giraffe they have given. Yes, and not only that, the animals which cannot adapt themselves to the proper environment, they are going to die after a certain period of time. And next we have also learned about habitat. So what is a habitat? Habitat is nothing but the place where the plant or animal is able to live. So based on the habitat, there are 5 major categories of animals: terrestrial, aquatic, amphibious, then arboreal and aerial. So these I have given you as a homework. You have to do it. So in the next session we will learn about the terrestrial animals and aquatic animals, and we are going to continue. So what is your work? You have to do the homework, read the lesson, and you have to underline the new words. So hope you all have understood till now. We will meet in the next session. Thank you.